Hey, I'm Steve Kretz for Guitar Gathering. Thank you for joining us on this Christmas lesson on the carol, O Holy Night. There's a PDF that goes along with this, so make sure you download that and have that out in front of you as we begin working through this amazing song. It was written back in 1843. The writer of the melody, it was first started as a French poem. A few years later, it was put to music by Adolphe Adam. And he put it to music, eventually went into spread all through Europe, and then eventually ended up in the United States with an English translation of this French poem, and that ended up as the hymn or the carol, Christmas carol that we know of today. That's often sung for candlelight services and things like that. So let's get into this. Now, you see it in a bunch of different keys. C, the key of C, the key of G, the key of E are the three main ones that I have found this one in. Typically, when I've played this, I tend to play it in the key of G. So I'm going to show it to you in C and in G as we get through our lessons. Now, it has a 4-beat pulse, but it's got this underlying triplet feel to it. And how we interpret that in music is we sometimes you'll see it written as 4 beats per measure, but in a 12/8 feel. So it has 12 eighth notes. So you end up with this sort of rolling pattern. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it has this triplet feel. Sometimes it's even written in 12/8. I chose to write it in 6/8 here just to make it a little bit easier for you to read. So I have it written here at 6. Now, the form is very odd since it's coming from a poem, so it has stanzas and all kinds of things like that. Let me just talk you through it. The first verse usually has a measure or two of an intro. Then you would have a verse or a stanza that is 9 measures long if we're looking at it in 6/8. The second verse would be 9 measures long. The pre-chorus, which is a little section that happens before this refrain, that's 8 measures long. You're seeing how strange it is. The chorus, the refrain section, is 16 measures long, followed by a little tag that is 8 measures after that, and often that whole form is then repeated. So it's a very odd form. Very similar to, if you want to think of it in feel, to Ave Maria, that sort of a feel in its form. Now, there are 2 backing tracks that go along with this. There's the first backing track's a little bit more of an acoustic folk feel with it. That's the traditional backing track using just the basic traditional chords. The next backing track, the traditional one's in C. The next backing track, the contemporary one, is in the key of G, and it's going to use a little bit more modern sounding chords and some substitutions with it. So I'm going to switch guitars here as we dive into this. So open your PDF and take a look at page 2. I'm going to switch over here to my acoustic, my steel string, since this track has a little bit more of a folk country sort of a feel to it, acoustic feel to it. All right, let me just talk you through the melody. We're basically in the key of C, which has no sharps or flats. So a C major scale in the open position, which is where we're going to be playing, is a good place to start. So go ahead and play a C major scale if you can. All right, so I'm not going to talk you through the whole thing because one thing you'll notice about this song, it's just long. It's not hard, it's long. It's just long. There's just a lot to it. So we start off in the open position, and it stays there for the entire song, starting with the second finger on this E. Let me mention in 6/8 time, the pulse is not a quarter note like it would be in 4/4 time. It's a dotted quarter note. So you're going to see measures that are split up into 2 dotted quarter notes. Oh, where would that be? If you look on the second page in measure 23, you can see the beat there. So there's the 2 pulses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the pulse. So the pulse is coming on the beats. There's 2 beats per measure, each of them with 3 pulses in it. So when you split that up, you end up with a lot of dotted quarters or quarter with an eighth sort of pattern. So you'll see that here. So don't let that throw you. If you haven't seen that before, that might be a little bit different looking. But once you get the feel of this triplet-based flow, you'll see it makes sense. So we start at the beginning. Third finger, second finger. That's the first 9 measure stanza. So then it goes into the next phrase. Now it spins out of this a little bit differently here in measure 14 with the F sharp on our pinky there. Here's coming this pre-chorus part, starting with that G. There's all of our dotted quarters there. Now we get to the chorus, or a refrain as it's called most of the time. 2, 1. Hold on to these notes. 1, 2, 1. Now, on this third page, page 4, we get to the first and second ending. So this is the first ending, just going up to the E here. 2, 1. Measure 47. Now, if you jump down to the second ending, we hit that D just like we did in the first ending. But here it goes, instead of up to the E, goes all the way up to the octave. 2, 3. Now, in some versions, you'll see here later on, you would then take it at that point and you would repeat back to the refrain, which would be in measure 27. So you'll see that as well. Let's talk about the chords. Pretty traditional chords. We've got a C, a bar F, and I made these as plain as they could be. Just like if you're doing it at a sing-along or something like that, you would use these traditional chords. And that's pretty much it. When we get to the measure, what is that, 15? E minor, a quick little B7, then back to E minor. When we get to the refrain in measure 27, A minor, a little D minor there, back to the A minor. After that, it pretty much reads straight down. The only odd chord that you'll see sometimes in the second ending, measure 52, you'll have the G first. Now, a lot of times right here, they'll do a G7th, but they'll have maybe an F in the bass. I didn't even bother writing it, but now here it goes to an E minor there. Sometimes you'll even hear it as a C. Quite commonly for that to be a C chord right there. Okay, so there you go. That's the melody and that's the chords. We're going to turn on the traditional track now, and I may not play all the way through it just because it's long. It's about 6 minutes, but we'll get a little bit of the melody and a little bit of the chords so you can see how it goes. 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Melody. Okay, so let's play some chords now, back to the beginning. I'm just arpeggiating up there, up and down. I wanted to strum maybe. Walk-ups and walk-downs. Maybe alternate the bass. Alternating the bass here, if you want to. It's a common thing to do. Walking up. There you go. You get the idea. All right. So that's the opening basic melody in the key of C. We did the melody and we did the chords. Let's talk about what we can do with those chords. So flip over to the next page and let's look at some accompaniment patterns on page 5 for this song. Now, since this is in a triplet-based rhythm, we're in a 6/8 time or 12/8, but any of these work for good triplet-based rhythms. There's several different ways that you can accompany. Now, you can use these with a pick or fingerstyle. I'm going to do fingerstyle for right now. Now, I have some different notations on here, so take a look at that first line of music there. You'll notice in between the two stabs it has the fingerings. T is for your thumb, 1 is for your index, 2 is for your middle finger, 3 would be your ring finger. Okay, so you see a lot of 2, 1, thumb, 2, T, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, that sort of stuff. Now, some of these I've got where 2 fingerings would be common. Other ones, like the middle one, we just have 1 fingering that's common. So take a look at this first one. If you look at that top fingering, I just have these chords here. I've got a G, C, and a D. The reason I chose these is because the G has the root on the 6th string, C has the root on the 5th string, D has the root on the 4th string. So we've got 3 different places for that root. And we have to arpeggiate a pattern after that. So a common one, the first one, is just the ascending up and down, kind of this rolling up and down. Now, I can do it on the inside, the middle set of strings, which would be like this, which is how you have notated in that first bar. Thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, thumb. Now, there's a bunch of them on this page, and I encourage you to go through them all because you're going to use these a lot. Main thing is just get the idea of them. Just run through them, get them underneath your fingers. So if we did that first measure a few times, thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, just let everything ring out. So you notice everything but my thumb is on these inside strings, the 4th, 3rd, and the 2nd string. Okay, so that's a common pattern there. Another way to do that is to switch it around to where I'm going to do the thumb is going to play the G and the D, the 6th and the 4th string, and then 1 and 2 are going to move down here to the 3rd and 2nd string. So you end up with that lower fingering pattern, which would be thumb, thumb, 1, 2, 1, thumb, thumb. That's another pattern. If I switch it up to the upper strings, look at the second measure. Let's go back to our first pattern, thumb, 1, 2, 3. I end up with this. So do you see it's the same pattern, I just switch what strings I'm on. If I use that second pattern, thumb, thumb, there you go. That one I'll use a little bit less often because there's just such a wide range between the 6th and the 3rd string when you're having to do that. If I did it on the 4th string, or excuse me, on the 5th string, it would be the 3rd measure with that C. If I did that other pattern, the bottom one would be thumb, thumb, 1, 2, 1, thumb, thumb, thumb. If I did the 4th measure with the upper strings, the first pattern, thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, thumb. If I did the second pattern, thumb, thumb, 1, 2. Now, of course, when you get to the D, I can't do inside and outside strings. There's just the 1 strings that they're on. So we're just going to do thumb, 1, 2, 3, I guess I could do the other one. Thumb, thumb, 1, 2. The main thing is those take a little bit of time to get. It's not complicated. You just got to get your fingers to cooperate with what your brain is telling you to do. So I would encourage you to spend some time, relax, spend some time, don't be in a hurry, and try and get these patterns underneath your fingers. It's not that many different combinations, but I wanted to show you kind of how this works. So I can do an ascending up and down pattern. I can do, in the middle line, I can do a descending line. So let's say I have a lower note and an upper note. And this one I'm just going to do hit the lower note with the thumb, upper note with the third finger, and then I go 2, 1, thumb. So I end up with this sort of a pattern. So you're going to see that a lot. If I switch that to the outside string, same pattern. But you'll notice the thumb is now hitting the D and the G. And then you transpose that to the 5th and the 4th string with the C and the D. The last pattern there, the third line down there, I'm going to do a mixed pattern. So I kind of ascend, but then I mix. So it sounds like this. If I did the top, the upper one, the one I just did there was the thumb, thumb, 1, 2. If I do the other one, it would be. Now, I know they all kind of sound the same, so it really doesn't matter which one you do, but it's a good habit to get into to get control over your fingers. You know, in the classical guitar world, we work with Giuliani studies, so if you really want to get into this sort of thing, I would check out the Mauro Giuliani right-hand studies, right and left-hand studies, but the right-hand ones are going to be the ones that'll help you. So those are some patterns. I would encourage you to look at those. All right, let's flip over and let's take a look at the O Holy Night melody in G with the contemporary chords. All right, so this is page 6. All right, so here's the contemporary melody in key of G. So we've got F sharps now we've got to keep up with. And I'm going to put this one in the key, in the 3rd position. And then when we get to the chorus, we're going to jump up to the 7th position. So if I do it in the 3rd position here, that puts my 3rd finger on this opening B in the 1st measure. 1st finger. Right here, I'm going to switch back. I'm going to stretch my 1st finger back to catch this note on the 2nd position. And now I'm in the 2nd position. So now the 3rd finger on this B. Do you see kind of why I did that? Because I had to keep hitting that A. So I switched back to the 2nd position. Positions are a little bit, you know, you play it in one and then you may play it in the next one over. They're you know, it's kind of a range of the guitar. So we very rarely do we play purely in one position. It's kind of this range, sometimes this way, sometimes that way. It goes on, it plays that melody again. Measure 12, back in the 3rd position. Shift down to the 2nd to catch the C sharp. And then we're just going to stay here in the 2nd position. Staying in the 2nd position, because I've got these A's again. Now here, I'm going to jump up to the 7th position, right here, which will put this 2nd string, 2nd finger G way up here. Why did I jump there? Because we're going to get high, and I needed to be in that area of the neck. 1st finger on this G. 1st ending, measure 43. Up to the A, then the B. If I go to the 2nd ending, I hit measure 51, I hit the A again, and then I hit this octave D. Now you'll notice at the end of this D in measure 54, I've got a little two lines right there. That means to just pause right there, pause, and then come down. Then you'll notice it has a little RIT, little retardando. I slow down right there. And then back to a tempo right here. So this would be the normal tempo. And then it extends out there. If you want to repeat it again, you can repeat back to the refrain. All right, take a look at the chords. That's a melody. That's pretty much straightforward. If we go to the chords, let me go finger style here with our little patterns. Look at that. I've got a G2, B in the bass to help lead me to that C. And then A minor, just a little switching from the 4 to the 2 minor there. Give a little movement. D with the F sharp in the bass, second finger on the lowest string there. Let me mention right here, on these G2s, because you're going to see a lot of those in this arrangement as well as the advanced arrangement. I can play them like this, 3, 2, 4. I can also play them as 2, 1, 3. Which one should I use? I don't care. Whichever one is more helpful at the moment. So sometimes you'll see it written as this, sometimes you'll see it written as that. If I have it written as this, and you think it would be more comfortable playing like that, I really don't care at this point, as long as you can reach everything, because they're kind of interchangeable. It continues on, measure 12, just like it did before. We get to a B minor 7th here. And then I throw a little F sharp 7, and then a little augmented flat 9 just to get that G natural in there. Back to the B minor. Now here, in the other version it went to the 5, the D, but here I did a little 2-5. That A minor 11 just switches it to a little bit more of a modern sound. D with the F sharp leading up to the G. Then it does this again. Walking down to the E minor. Instead of the A minor, I did a little A minor 9th, just to give a little bit of a dissonance there, and even the E minor 9th in the measure 33. G, D, 2. Walking up to this C, G2, D with the F sharp, back to that. First ending D, then my second finger reaches over here, and I bar the first finger to catch that D with a C in the bass. See how the bass line's going D, C, next measure, B in the bass to the C. Chords that go together. D sus, G. And then it has the second ending, which is pretty much similar chords there. Now, these contemporary chords, you'll use these a lot in more modern sounding songs. When you have a little bit more of a finger style stuff. In country things, I'll use those a lot. In more pop things, I'll use these type of chords a lot. If you're interested in these, I did a whole series on the money chords, fretboard workout series. And that will get you good work on these sorts of chords. If I'm in the recording studio doing anything that is more modern sounding, you can bet I'm using these chords. All right, so we're going to turn on the track. I'm going to play the melody, and then I'm going to switch the chords somewhere in there. This is the contemporary track. 1, 2, third position, and... Again, there's some flexibility in the rhythms. And I switch back up to the third position. Switch back, second position. Jump up to the seventh position there. first ending. Okay, I'm going to go fingerstyle here. Let's do those chords. Just that ascending up and down pattern. So if you're accompanying somebody, I just want simple patterns. I want to be slow and steady. Here comes that A minor 11th. My way down to the E minor. It doesn't really matter what pattern you're using on your finger picking. It just matters that you keep it going. This time we're going to take the second ending. Little turnaround in it. Okay, there you go. So that's the melody and the chords in the contemporary, in the key of G, more of a contemporary feel. All right, so let's turn the page and let's get into the solo guitar arrangements. All right, so let's take a look at this first arrangement on page 10. This is a basic arrangement. I put it back in the key of C just to make it simple, so no sharps or flats. And you can use fingerstyle or you can use a pick. So let me play it for you. I'm going to use a pick and maybe even a hybrid technique there, and I'll just play it for you. It is a rather long song, so if you have stand extenders for the 4 pages, that would be great. Or if you're looking at the PDF, I would print it out, and then I would print out all 4 pages so that I have it out in front of you so you're not always having to flip pages there. I did put a little spacer in the PDFs just so if you did have it, 2 pages at a time, that's one way to do it. But I like to just tape them all together, print all 4 pages, that way I have them out there. So let me just play it for you first. Repeat back just to the refrain, and we'll do that second ending. This is the refrain, 27. second ending. There you go. A beautiful little arrangement. It seems like it's a lot. I know it's just it's not complicated. It's just long. So let's just dive into it. I did that all with the kind of a hybrid picking where I'm using my pick and I'm doing my fingers as well. Starts out with this open C chord. I tried on the chords on the top to include the overall shape that it's going in. Then I have just the F and the A, and the open A underneath it. All just right out of that C chord. Using that shape for the G. Just arpeggiating this. A little bit of C suspended there just to give a little bit of a sense of a resolution. Then back and we do this thing again. Minor triad. Sorry. Okay, now that's a little bit of a tricky fingering right there. So I want you to use on that B7, first finger on the D sharp, third finger on the A, open B there. So starting from the E minor B. Second and third. Walking down A minor 7th, then arpeggiate that. I like to use the third on the F there, the pinky on the D there, walking down. First and third there. Now you could use second and fourth on that G with the B and the bass, so just realize those are interchangeable like those other ones were. A minor 7th, F. So a little bit of I'm not moving through many forms, but every now and then I'll have to lift a finger here or there. So measure 37 and 38 are a little tricky. Here. I went to an F major 7th here. I just thought that was a pretty sound. Hit that D with the fourth finger, first ending. Notice even right there in measure 48, that's a good example of throughout this whole song I want to bring out the melody and I want to let everything ring. Let everything ring. So the accompaniment figures I want to bring back a little bit. I want to bring that melody out, and I want to let everything ring. See how my G and my D and my B, for as long as he can, are still ringing. So don't go. Let them ring. So by the end of that measure 50, right there at the end of that first ending, I should have an F, a G, a C, all ringing. So I don't want to go. Don't want to do that. For the second ending, 51, little retard. Did a little F2 there. And you notice I went to 4/4 time there just to give it a solid walk down. Slow down. Then back to A tempo, back to the tempo again in 6/8. Let this all ring. Retard. Then back to the tempo again. Now, if I wanted to, I can go back to the refrain. The fall on your knees part. And then if you wanted to end out, you could just end on the C there. So the next last measure, if you do want to to do it, that optional repeat, you can do that refrain again. Great little arrangement. Have fun working on that one in the key of C. Main thing is bring out the melody and let those notes ring. Let those open strings ring. That's what makes an acoustic guitar sound amazing. All right, flip the page. Let's look at the next arrangement. All right, this is the O Holy Night advanced arrangement. I put this one in the key of G, so we've got F sharps, and I arpeggiated a whole lot more, added a bunch of different chord inversions, and so it takes it a little bit different direction with some chords. This is more the version that I've used for more performances and things like that. So let me play it for you first, and then we'll dive into it. There you go. A beautiful arrangement that I've used and performed many, many times of O Holy Night in G. So let's dive into it. Again, the G2, you're going to see me play it 2, 1, and 3. You're going to see me play it 3, 2, and 4. I don't care which one you choose. And I'll use them interchangeably, so don't get bent out of shape if I switch from one to the other. Let everything ring here at this intro. Everything ringing into each other. A little bit of a slide here with the start with your second finger. And I I'm back into the melody. Now, it's written as just a whole collection of notes. I usually try and separate the melody out with up stems and the accompaniment with down stems. I tried doing it with this, but it just looked too complicated doing it that way. You would really get mixed up doing it that way. So I just wrote them all in the same staff. So you just have to use your ear to determine to bring out the melody that you need to bring out. So remember that. And here's the deal with bringing out a melody. I can only get so loud on the instrument. So when I say bring out the melody, what I'm actually physically doing is bringing down the accompaniment, because the melody you can only get as loud as you can. Even as you're doing this, speaking of louds and softs, there's times where you're getting louder and you're getting softer. I haven't written them in there, but try and feel those points of where you can build emotion into the song by adding volume. How can we display emotion in music? By a couple of different things. Dynamics, louds and soft. Another way I can do that, I can change my attack, whether I'm using, more of the fleshy, warmer part of my finger, or whether I'm using more of the nails, get a little bit more of a sound like that. I can use tempo, so I can, those little tempo variations, those can help us express emotion as well. So remember the dynamics. That's the one I want you to think about. Bring out that melody. So at the verse, these patterns, remember we talked about that on page 5, those accompaniment patterns? All of these are buried in here. A little pull off there with your third finger. That again. B minor here. Open that bar so you get that open E underneath it. F sharp 7. I notice I'm not using my third finger, I'm just leading the bottom. Starts out with a B power chord. And then subtly switches to the B minor 7th. You'll notice also there's a little tie from that low B. I'm trying to get you to hold on to that. That B is holding through all of that, so don't go. Make it all ring together. Quick little move here, so you'll notice how I pause a little bit. It gives a little break there musically, but it also helps me get to the position faster. A minor with that open E there. Hang on to this high G. Hang on to that high F sharp. Interesting chord here, an A minor 9th, but I'm going to add that high A on that with my pinky there. Now it looks like in the music that it's kind of a jagged line, but if you look at the tab, you'll see that I'm going straight up, but that open string is what gives that sound. Now here, what is that? Measure 30, 36, 37, 38, 39. All right, I've given you two versions. You could use this, which is the chord in parentheses. Just doing a little pattern maybe like that. Or if you've got some extra reach and you really want to grab that low G, it's a 5-fret stretch. That's a big one, kids. First finger on that low G, open, 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 and then pinky on that high B. So if you've got that stretch, then grab it. If not, just hit the little one. So coming into that, it would be, if I did the little one, sounds just as fine, but if you want to grab that low G, you can. that wrist. Little D5 there. A little two-note dyad there just to emphasize that tension. Back to the D5, C in the bass. The first ending, I do a G with a B in the bass, full bar up here. And then C major is ninth with an E. Kind of really have to twist your arm to get that. And then you have to reach that pinky off that C to catch that A there. Let as much ring as you can, so that first ending is tricky. And then you jump back down. Sixth, a little bit of a retard there. Then back to the tempo, and I do my little turnaround. Second ending, I do the C major ninth, first finger on that C, open G, open B, pinky on that high D. Let that settle. And then just like the intro, I play this 3 times. There you go. The trickiest part for me is probably that first ending, these chords. That little move right there. And then the second ending, that could be really pretty. Milk that. I've got the little roll there. Let as much hang. Now you got to release this C right there. Beautiful song. There's a lot to it. I've given you all kinds of different arrangements. Grab what you can. If you don't want to worry about the large arrangements, just stick with the melody, stick with the chords, and learn these accompaniment patterns. That'd be a good way to start. If you want to do more, prepare yourself for a song that you can perform around the holidays, check out one of these other arrangements. Have fun learning. I am enjoying teaching you these. Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering. Keep up the great work, and we will see you next time.